All right, welcome to another one of these beautiful opportunities to come together here for our Patreon community, these transmissions that I call Ascension with A Course in Miracles. Today is August the 3rd. And as always, I come to these conversations, and some of you who are in my other classes, you know I say this all the time, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart. We're going to touch on a lesson today, a continuation of, it seems like it's a series that we have been on the last couple of weeks, where I've been asked, I feel the guidance to help people really understand our part in God's plan for salvation. It obviously includes that we be happy, because without happiness, we don't fully understand our will, the will that God has given us, which is how we realize, how we understand that we are on our path. We are following God's will when we're experiencing happiness. And this is not the fluffy happiness that comes from, getting a gift, or the fluffy happiness that comes when somebody does something for us, maybe a child that you want them to clean their room and they're not cleaning their room. Then you get excited because they finally follow through on whatever it is that they're supposed to follow through on. So the happiness that the Course in Miracles wants us to really understand, it's a happiness that is a constant. This is really more known as joy. It is a joy that is only possible when we are following our life's purpose. And we have one specific purpose. Lots of other, I'm going to call them secondary purposes. The secondary purposes are our job, or our having a family, our purpose in relationship, our purpose in bringing our gifts and talents, our purpose in bringing a song to the world, our purpose in writing a book. All of those are secondary purposes. Our primary purpose, as the Course in Miracles teaches, is for us to be happy. It's really clear. We have one purpose, and it is to be happy. The only way, only way that purpose is fully achieved is when we are embodying what we are. And we are the light of the world. We are the love, the light, the holy being that, from a non-physical perspective, before we incarnate, we recognize that we want to have an adventure. We want to travel to planet Earth, which is the third dimension of consciousness, and have an experience as a separate person. And by separate person, it's an understanding that we're going to have a body, and we are going to live inside of this body, even though this body lives inside of our soul. Because the energy field that we are is what contains this body. That is our primary source. The body is a small aspect of what we are, expressing itself in physical form. Once we make the decision that we are going to, through, in the beginning was the word is our thought, our desire to be physical, we then activate the energetic particles, the energetic aspect of who we are to become physical. We call together, we assemble the pieces, the particles, everything that is necessary to have this physical experience. Before we incarnate, we know that we're going to come in and take on a physical vessel. And we are very clear that we're going to experience a level of separation that in many ways will be uncomfortable. We know that it's going to be uncomfortable because up until now, humanity has been operating very unconsciously. So most of the parents, 99.999% of the parents, have parented unconsciously up until now. Now we have those children of parents like us who began their journey of awakening, who began the process of incarnating to do our life's purpose, to wake up from the illusion of separation. And we've done that in this incarnation. but we started off unconscious about who we are. Then we went on journeys that helped us become conscious of who we are. And as we have been becoming conscious, we have been changing our parenting style. We have been, or maybe some of us are just aunts and uncles. We have been shifting how we communicate with the younger ones. In my case, my daughter, who was born to an unconscious mother, I was going through the shifts, then became way more conscious. She now, as a brand new mother, wants to parent her child and is parenting her child consciously, because she sees the difference from the unconscious mother that I was to the conscious one. And she realizes, oh my gosh, I wish I would have had a conscious mother. So she's becoming that conscious parent to her children, to her child right now. Yes, I'm putting in my request for children, because I would love to have a little girl, even though she says she only wants to be a mom to boys. I'm like, okay, you have one boy. I want you to give me a girl. So anyhow, today we have more conscious parents. So the children born, the souls who are choosing to incarnate, they have it a lot easier in many ways, because they're coming into parents, into households that are conscious, meaning that they know they're coming on this adventure, taking on a physical vessel, but from the get-go, they're going to be reminded and be treated as the light of the world that they are. Those of us who incarnated into the unconscious world, we forgot that we are the light of the world. We've gone on this journey. The teachings of A Course in Miracles are for us. They're for us to understand what blocks our light, for us to realize all of the ways that we have built barriers to being the love that we are, the love, the light that we are. So we darken ourselves. We forget who we are. We block our truth. We cover ourselves up with so many things that are absolutely made up here on planet Earth. This is the only crazy planet where we believe things like separation, where we believe things like hierarchy, someone's better than others, where we believe in lack, where we believe in that it's okay to judge one another. This is the planet where we came to do that. Just as there are some vacation spots on this planet that vacations are a little bit rougher than others. So you go on a vacation that is maybe a survival type of a vacation, you're going to have to rough it. But some of us prefer to go to vacations where we go to the Ritz and it's totally, plush and cushy and it's comfortable. And that's what this planet is. This is the survival planet, where the Ritz, well, that's in the fifth dimension. We need to do the work that we need to do to get to that level of comfort, because we will be the ones who are co-creating the comfort. On planet Earth, we're co-creating this comfort because we judge one another. We operate in limitation. We believe things that are not true. We think that God is outside of us when it's always been within. We believe that we are in hierarchies, that some have more authority than others because we believe, external doctors or presidents or teachers or preachers, and we believe what they say instead of what we know to be true. So on this planet, we create suffering because we don't remember the truth of who we are. Course in Miracles is for us, not for our children. Course in Miracles is for us to get our mind straight, to correct our misperceptions, to open our heart. And then these beings that are born with the light of the world, they don't need to be trained on how to undo their ego. They don't have one. Our work is to ensure that they operate from their heart, that their soul is fully guided from the get-go in how to be in the world, but not of it. Course in Miracles is for those who forgot that. So today we are going to continue on these beautiful teachings that Jesus channeled for us so many years ago. I think it's about 60 years now. This information that came through this willing vessel who received it, recorded it, and made sure that it was available to the world. And it is, for me, truly one of the most sacred texts that I've ever encountered. And it is sacred because it speaks truth. That to me is what makes something sacred. It is the light of the world, which Jesus showed us how we all can become that. It is the light of the world expressing this through the flesh of another. So Helen Schuckman, who received this information, it's amazing to go back and read some of the things that she had to say about A Course in Miracles. She said, and this is, I'm so grateful that she said exactly what she was experiencing. She said she knew that this was true, but she couldn't believe that she could do it. She knew that she was sharing truth. She felt the vibration of the truth of these words coming through her. She could not at all, never did deny the truth, the power of this work. But she acknowledged that she couldn't believe that she could do it, that she couldn't believe that it could possibly be this way. That's the power of the mind. You know in your heart it's true, but you can believe and block it. If you believe, you can't do it. If you believe that this is not possible, if you believe that this is, unattainable, you will not attain the very thing that you believe to be true. How many of us come to teachings like this? Other teachings that I'm such big fans of, like the Bhagavad Gita, which is Hindu teachings from 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, saying so much of the same. They lead. Let me say, they don't say the same thing, but they point to the same place, the truth of who we are. The Bhagavad Gita uses a battle as the metaphor of teaching the difference between light and dark, the difference between love and fear, the difference between our heart, our soul, and our ego. It teaches it in a way that makes sense for those who study Hinduism. Course in Miracles is written in such a way that is more conducive for those who understand psychology and mysticism. It is more of a Christian teaching, but it is still teaching us, breaking down the ways that we learn to believe what is not true. And when our mind believes something, we lock it down. We make an agreement. If I believe that I cannot do what is true, by gosh, you cannot do what is true for you to be able to do. This is how powerful our mind is. And that's why the Course in Miracles tells us it's a course in mind training. Our mind must be trained in unblocking the beliefs, the thought systems, shifting the perceptions that keeps us from remembering the truth that is already in our heart. We don't go somewhere to become enlightened. We don't achieve something outside of ourselves. We do not go somewhere to find the truth. We're reading A Course in Miracles, not because we're going there to find the truth, but because A Course in Miracles, when fully received, is activating the truth that's inside of us. And what that means is that the love, the light that we are before we incarnated is the exact same love and light that Jesus is the exact same consciousness that everything is. And Course in Miracles is nothing more than a message that we send ahead of our incarnation to remind us of the truth that is in our heart. For those who are born after the Course was written, for those who are born before the Course was written, it's agreements that we create at a soul level. Send me something to remind me of who I am. So whether you're born before or after, it doesn't matter. It's all coming from us to us through the being called Helen as a channel, through the being called Jesus as the historical Jesus that has incarnated many times and no longer needs to be on this planet because he has achieved a level of total belief in the truth of who he is, that he doesn't need a physical body to go through the motions of finding out his truth. He is the light. He is the way if we choose to receive it. And today we're going to go to lesson 104. Last week, we looked at lesson 103, which is God being love is also happiness. And we focused on that. Now, lesson 104 is I seek but what belongs to me in truth. So there you are, the word truth again. Truth is said so many times in A Course in Miracles because it is all about providing the truth that sets us free. You take what resonates, take as much of it as you want to believe is possible for you to embody, and leave what you don't believe that you can actually embody. It's that simple. There is no punishment in a God that is loving, eternally loving. There is no judgment from a God that is inside of us. Why would God that is within judge ourselves? If anything, God within is so excited that it's going to come out. It's going to register in our mind what we are, so that we can finally, in the depths of our being, believe not only that we are the light of the world, not only that we are one with Jesus, that Jesus is a brother, not only that I and the Father are one, meaning we accept our godliness, but that we acknowledge fully that being all of that, we are only one with all that is, because only oneness exists. We are just in a simulation, in a pretending that we are separate. And when we block our truth, our separation causes suffering. When we unblock the truth and we believe it fully in our hearts, the truth sets us free to be loving and kind and collaborative and cooperative and co-creative with one another. The 5D world that we're moving to is a world that is being right now created, co-created by people who are already believing the truth of who they are. The 3D world that is collapsing is the world of those who have believed in hierarchy, have believed in suffering and separation. Those are the bullies and the victims that are playing that game. And right here on this planet, we see what collaboration creates, and we see what hierarchy and righteousness and lack and belief in some deserve more than others creates. And when I say we, those of us who are awake to what is happening, we can see the bifurcation. We can see the new being built right now, and that's what we're drawn to. We can see the old that is collapsing, which is why most of us are not afraid of it, not suffering at all because of it, because we can see it. We have the eyes to see, the ears to see the difference. But too many of us have one foot in both places. And the Course wants us to understand that the only way to stand firmly in the new is to get your foot out of the old. That means stop believing in what your ego is telling you. Stop entertaining lies, the lies that we tell ourselves, because the lies that we tell ourselves are only possible with our agreement with the lies that are being told to us. In other words, stop believing the church that God is outside of you. Stop believing the government that it knows better for you. Stop believing external medical authorities that they know what's best for you internally. They can't. Nobody can know what is best for you. You are the only one who has access to all knowing of what's best for you, but you have to come inside and listen to your own internal guidance, which is God within. Once you do that, you've reached Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is just a label. It's a name. It's a title, because we like titles on this planet. It's a title. It's a definition for one who listens to God within. When Jesus said, I and the Father are one, he became the Christ. He acknowledged who he is. In physical form, he was Jesus. In physical form, I am Laina. He can be the Christ. I am the Christ as well. You are the Christ when you have 0, 0, 0 doubt, meaning 100% you believe the truth of who you are. You and the Father are one. You and the Father, Mother, God are one. When you're not hung up with titles, the word Father doesn't bother you. The word Mother doesn't affect you. What matters is that you know that there is one creative source, and it's only been given the name of God by humans. God did not give us the name God. If anything, we were told, I am that I am. There's no label there in I am that I am. And when you accept I am that I am. You and the Father, Mother, God are one. You are the Christ. What the world needs now more than anything is more who shift into owning that they are the light of the world, because as more move here to light, we are lighting up the possibility of being able to see more clearly that which was in the darkness before. When we were all over here dark, nobody could see clearly. And then you get one being like Jesus with a lot of light. Well, it was a lot of light, but even his 12 apostles didn't get what he was teaching. Not until after Jesus died. They didn't quite get it, and many didn't even get it until future incarnations. So here was one very bright light, could not light up the world for those who were there to see what was in the dark before. But many more beings are turning on their light, seeing clearly, which that's all that being the light means. You see what is true, you see what is not. You become one who can see the darkness. And when there are more that see the darkness, that means they're more exposing it. And as more see what has been dark, and you know that darkness is a blocking of the truth of who we are, which means those who are dark and do evil deeds are those who don't remember that they are the light. And what are they doing? Taking the light from others, sucking the innocence of children, sucking the financial abundance from humanity, sucking the resources over here, pulling what they think is what will make them happy from everybody else, sucking it from the planet, sucking the goodness out of the air by polluting it. That's what the darkness is, those who are most calling for the light, but they're doing it in a way that is detrimental and causes suffering. So how do they get their peace? By going to war and killing people. Hello, you can't get to peace by killing people. I mean, that has to at some point become logical, that you cannot get to peace by killing people. You cannot create well-being by hurting people with polluted water, polluted air, polluted food, polluted pharmaceuticals. You cannot get to wellness by polluting things. So their minds are polluted, as within, so without. They're polluting the outer world because their minds are polluted with lies. So they are the ones who are most calling for the light. The more we turn our light on and say, hey, there's another way, the more that we stand firmly for the truth of who we are. And that is our ultimate purpose, is to become happy as the light, that we get to shine the light on that which is dark right now. And all that what is dark is doing is calling for love, calling for us to look at it and say, there is another way. I found it. You want to follow me? Which is all that Jesus did. Jesus was walking around at the time 2,000 years ago saying, hey, I am the way. You want to learn the way? I'll show it to you. Well, he couldn't show it to us. I'll teach you how you can find your own way out of this insanity. And there's only 2 steps to that. One is know what God is, so that you can learn to love God, because you find out, oh, God is love. And then you share that love with others, with your neighbor, as you do, because as you've learned to love yourself. That's what the darkness is calling for. It's calling for love. So this particular lesson, 104, I seek but what belongs to me in truth, means I, Laina, I, Kat, all of you, seek what is mine in truth. That's all that we need to do. Well, because what belongs to us is within us. You're not going to find it at the store. It's not on aisle 12. What we are looking for is right there in the center of our beingness. And right in that center, the 4th chakra. It is our work to understand what blocks the 4th chakra, which is the information, the unprocessed emotions, and the misinformation of who we are as a being that are in our lower 3 chakras. And then we have to open up our upper 3 chakras by activating our truth so we can speak it, by clearly seeing what is going on and see beyond the physical, begin to see with the eyes of spirit so that we can see the non-physical more clearly. Yes, you can see the non-physical, because the non-physical is seeable to the eyes of the spirit, which means you see clearly, feel, sense, are aware of vibrational frequencies. And then, of course, you open up that crown chakra, which is about I and the Father are one. I am only here to do God's will, not mine, but God's will be done. Well, we have to open ourselves up to allow our field, the soul that we are, which is beyond the body, to, like a toroidal field, allow the truth to come in through the upper chakras and cleanse those lower chakras, which sends the excitement about being human back, so that we can create that movement of that energy that is constantly in motion. And that activates for us the opportunity to be what we are, which is the light of the world. And once you believe the truth of who you are in alignment, you elevate yourself to a state of being the embodiment of the Christ. Your walk, your talk are congruent. You operate in one way and one way only, no matter who you're with, where you're at, you are very consistent. Masks fall away, lies fall away, fears fall away. All of that dissolves when you make a choice to believe the truth that sets us free. So now I want to ask, how is A Course in Miracles helping you feel more grounded in who you are, especially the last 4 lessons? Let's see, 3. Yes, I think we've been talking about this for the last 3-4 lessons have been about happiness, accepting our place in God's plan for salvation. Have you been applying some of those teachings? And if so, share a little bit. How is that working for you? And just unmute yourselves, please, if you want to share.
Well, right now, you mentioned a few things that reminded me of my recognition of my connection to everything. And that is that, and then I started, while you were talking, I was brainstorming and connecting with the fact that every cell of our body, every individual cell, and our cells we have trillions of cells, but each cell has the roadmap, the blueprint of the whole body. And just to extrapolate from that we are reminded that as above, so below, in the spiritual realms, as is represented too in the physical realm, we given this messages all around us that every cell is connected to the whole part of itself, and that whole self of itself has access to the divine. And I mean, so if we've got all the information we need, we just need to know how to tap into it. And the cells of the body that are not well are not connected to the rest of the body. They're losing their energy, so they're unwell. And not that we are unwell because we're not connected to the divine, but we're learning, we're coming in through the physical structure to learn how can we operate with God consciousness in our physical body. And for me, it's about recognizing, as you've said, that we are connected to the whole body of the world, of all the universes, all the galaxies. We just need to make that connection, as if we are one cell, and everybody else is another cell of the universe. But we're all operating as individual liver cells, heart cells, but yet having the blueprint of everything and tapping into the energy of the divine. That's what I'm trying to get to grips more and more with, and finding more ways to remind myself and to tap in to the light that I am.
Spoken like a chiropractor that understands the life force that pulls within the physical vessel that is as within, so without. Thank you so much for that share. Perfect. Perfect. Anybody else? Have you been happier lately listening to these lessons?
Okay, I did it. It's been an interesting week and couple of days, really. Some really unbelievable, to me, unbelievable choices that some authorities, let's just say the Board of Education, the election integrity issue has sort of fallen apart in Cherokee County from the Board of Ed, because in all this, it doesn't matter, it's just a story. So yeah, it, like last night, I was at the Board of Commissioners meeting, and they, well, we can't do anything, our hands are tied, yada, yada, yada. So we can't really, stop the Dominion machines, which is the basic meeting reason for them, stuff like that. And so I found myself like, just like, it took me down. And so, but not as much as it would have at one point. So what last night when I went to bed, I did the thing, which is our assignment from another class, about so who am I allowing to draw? Who am I giving my energy to in this? And it was ego. So just ego and, fear and anxiety and stuff like that. And it was like, well, then I need to withdraw. I am withdrawing my energy from that and replacing it with a more peaceful approach to it, more peaceful acceptance of what is. It is what it is, and I can let it make me miserable, or I can just move on with my life and know that God has a plan. So I have been using these things, happiness for this last. I've really liked this theme. So I'm looking to shift to happiness from things that seem dark.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, thank you for that share. And what you are doing, as are so many amazing, courageous beings, because we have to get to the level that we value who we are, that we value every being, that we value liberty, that we value sovereignty in order to be as involved as you are. And once we recognize the value of freedom, we are going to be bumping up against those who are attempting to suppress freedom. So you go to these board meetings, whether it be school board or election commissioners or whatever those might be, you are going up against the old. And that's okay, because every single time you take your light there, every single time that it is said that these systems are corrupt, that these systems are not loving, that these systems are, the corruption, all it means is they're not transparent. That's what it is. And it has to be not transparent for it to become selfishly, greedily self-serving. And of course, they don't want to change the systems that allow for that corruption to stay in place. Because once it becomes open, if we go back to hand ballots, then there would be no corruption. But we're not at hand ballots because so many of us did not participate in ensuring that it remained that open, that transparent. But every time you go up against them, it's like dripping the truth It's dripping, and it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but just as when you take a food coloring and you drop a drop of food coloring in a full bathtub of water, the first drop doesn't turn it blue. Second drop doesn't turn it blue. It may take 100 drops before it gets to the point that that 101st drop, boom, all of a sudden it's blue water. That is how we bring light to this planet. We continue to consistently bring the truth. Jesus brought the truth 2,000 years ago, said the same thing. The money changers, the people who are concerned about controlling the money, controlling religion, controlling the education of the people into those barbaric thought systems. How many lights have come to the planet saying the same thing? And 2,000 years later, here we are saying the same thing. Now it's going to flip. We are that 100th monkey. We are that shift in consciousness, the shift of the ages. We are right in the middle of seeing that shift happen. And we know the shift is happening because they are even more determined to protect their stands. And the more they lock down in their old ways of controlling, the more it's becoming visible to those with the eyes to see that what are you protecting? If there's nothing to hide, then hide nothing. But they are hiding because they know that they're up against the masses. And right now, what they need more than anything, if you want to create shift, is walk in there the next time with compassion. And if you're going to speak, you let them know, you must be suffering inside, holding all these secrets to yourself. You must be uncomfortable in this space where you know that the people that voted for you don't want what you're doing, and you're the only ones who want it. I forgive you for holding on for dear life to these secrets of yours. If you let the system be transparent, then all of us could get along with our happy lives. So our compassion to those beings who are really the most scared on the planet right now, it's like that saying, they know, they see the pitchforks are coming after them, but they are our brothers and sisters in Christ. And they and everybody else who is suffering is calling for love. Every single time you go to one of those meetings, I know you take the light of Christ with you. So thank you for doing that. We don't know when it's going to click inside of them, but at the moment that their greed is touched by the grace of one who has compassion, they will absolutely have to shift their stance, because they will know, I'm now not okay continuing this farce. And we all come to that place when we come to that place. Nobody can shift until they're ready, but they are not going to be ready to shift until many of us compassionately and some forcefully speak the truth that we know is true always, because we believe it in our hearts that freedom is our God-given right. And we cannot feel our happiness until our freedom, our liberty is absolutely, completely, 100% protected in this world. It's protected by God, but in this world, we need to acknowledge that for each and every one of us, which then means we have to honor that we are all equal. But we have projected power to these people. We've got to take it back by lovingly letting them know, hey, that's not okay. But that's the trick, is the loving part. And that's where we are becoming more the light as they become more darkened and more protective. If we soften, they will have no choice. They will have no choice, because they will feel the compassion softening them up. It will be unbearable to them feeling that much compassion. But it's easy for them to stay grounded in their righteousness, because when they are being attacked, then they put on the armor stronger and stronger, and they feel protected by that armor. You throw compassion at them, the armor falls. Thank you for what you're doing, sweetie. All right, well, let's jump into this lesson, lesson 104. And this is a very, oh my God, it's a beautiful lesson. So 104, I seek but what belongs to me in truth. Today's idea continues with the thought that joy and peace are not but idle dreams. Joy and peace is the essence of who we are. This is not part of the dream. The dream is what blocks our joy and peace. So let's get really clear about that. So we're continuing on this thought that love and peace, joy and peace is the essence of our beingness. So sentence 2 says, they are your right because of what you are. They come to you from God, who cannot fail to give you what he wills. And if God wills for us to be happy, joyful, and free, nobody can take that away from us, but we can have an experience of believing we don't have that, which is what the ego does to block those truths. And we gave our power away to people outside of us, and we gave them our power when we elected them and said, you decide for me. By gosh, they decided for us. And guess what? When we are self-serving, we will serve ourselves first. So when we are not watching what they were doing, because we were busy, distracted, watching television, being told what to buy, what to consume, what next to do, and we're being polluted with chemicals, and we're being pumped in our physical body since the time you're born are filled with pollutants, clouds your perception, makes you somewhat dumb, all by design, by the way, all by design. But here's the thing, by design as well, we came in to shine a light on that nonsense and stop it and reverse it. That's the only way we get back to having a planet that is the kingdom of heaven, that is free for all, is by first freeing ourselves from what we gave power to others to do to us. And yes, we can't be victims of this. We need to be very, very honest that we gave our power away. Only when we are no longer a victim and we claim our power do we absolutely begin the process of reversing the insanity. Because there are people, bad things have happened to them, but there are no victims except for one whose consciousness chooses to be diminished by what happened to them. But if we use what is happening in the world to propel us and send us in a very deliberate way to take the actions that are necessary to create a kingdom of heaven for all, well, nothing's going to give us more joy and more happiness than to acknowledge and believe the truth of who we are, that makes us the warriors that for a short period of time, this is not going to last thousands of years. We have a window. We have pretty much the window of the decade 2020. So much is going to be shown, even more is coming to the surface. You know, you're right there, Kat, watching some of the stuff that's happening. We're seeing it with the elections. We're seeing it with the medical system. We're seeing the corruptions in the church. We're seeing the education. It's there for those who have the eyes to see and want to see what's happening. It's out in the open. We are seeing how those who get in positions of power protect their own family members. We see how those who get in positions of power buy the stocks of the companies that then they're going to pass laws and regulations that benefit those in their families that they did the insider trading with. We're seeing all of those, you know, do as I say, not as I do rules are coming up, and we're all finding our worth and realizing, no, we're not going to do it that way anymore. We want equality. Well, this is the decade where that nonsense is going to come to an end, because it is coming to the foreground. And once we claim our sovereignty and we stand in our value, our worth, and learn to love ourselves enough to no longer believe our own lies, we will stand like powerful beacons in the night, lighting up the night sky and showing the way to so many others by our willingness to call our brothers and sisters who are so deluded in their thinking that they think they know better or that they're better. We're going to call them back into their truth through compassion. Hey, you're asleep. You forgot the truth of who you are. You're not equal, or you're not better than me. We're all equal. And when we remind them of that truth, they have nowhere to go except to remember, realize the truth of who we all are. This is the decade where the battle is going to be completed. between the dark and the light. And beginning towards the end of this decade, but definitely 2030, we are starting a brand new decade where the systems are going to be totally and completely changed. We're going to be building brand new systems that serve humanity. We're going to see so many amazing things come into this world that have been attempting to come in, but they were not allowed because greed and selfishness doesn't allow for everybody to benefit from what is good for all of us. And this is the time that we need to understand that we need to seek what belongs to us in truth. Because when we seek for it within ourselves, we will see what is truth and what is not true outside of ourselves. We will be able to see through the fake news when you are operating from truth. Sentence number 4 says, yet must there be a place made ready to receive his gifts. We're making the place inside. They are not welcomed gladly by a mind that has instead received the gifts it made where his belong as substitutes for them. Our mind was blocking truth. Our mind was blocking our self-worth. Our mind was blocking what belongs to us. We change our mind. This is why in the Bible it tells us, and ye shall be transformed through the renewing of your mind. We have to renew our thinking to think with God so we can accept what belongs to us. And when we accept the truth that belongs to us, we become the truth. And as we become the truth, we can more clearly see that those who are lying don't need for us to bash them. They need for us to help bring the light to them. Remind them, hey, you and I, we're the same. I see you. I see the light in you that you're not seeing. So I'm here to remind you that you are a child of God. Please remember that God forgives you, has forgiven all of us. I forgive you because you don't know what you're doing, because this crazy stuff that you're doing is going to affect you and your children too. If you think you're protected by these lies, you're sadly mistaken. And you're taking your children and grandchildren into that darkness with you. We're standing over here in the light, calling you and your children and grandchildren towards the light. That's what we do for one another when we reach Christ consciousness. Until then, our ego is spiritualized, and then we're judging from a spiritual place. It's a good next step, but it's not where we want to go. We want to go all the way to enlightenment, means being the light of the world no matter what. Paragraph number 2 says, so today we would remove all meaningless and self-made gifts, which we have placed upon the holy altar where God's gifts belong. Meaningless, self-made bullshit, belief systems, ideas that are not true, that we're separate. That's not true. That some are better than others. That's not true. That some are have access to God instead of others. That's not true. The Pope doesn't have more access to God than you and I do. It is not true that the doctors know about healing more than you and I have access to it, because everything is inside. Everything is inside. Everything worth experiencing, worth having, that really has value, power, is inside of ourselves. We don't need another person to complete us. We're already whole, perfect, and complete within ourselves. And then we share that wholeness and completion with one who wants to share it with us. We don't need to find anything outside of us to be happy. We don't need anything external to feel the wholeness, the fulfillment, the allness that each and every one is. That's what freedom is all about. You know there's nothing missing. Then you're free to go about this planet with all these people who are trying to sell you something, to get you to buy the next cream, the next thing, the next investment, the next blah, 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 blah. Looking for that thing that's going to make you better and happier and wealthier. Once you know your wholeness, you walk about this planet free as Jesus did. Then you can be truly in service, because one who is happy right now, I would say the most valuable currency, the most important thing in the world are peaceful, happy people. Because those who have the money, or who have the stocks, and who have the crypto, or who have the perfect bodies, or the perfect hair, or the perfect whatever, perfect job doing everything that they're doing, trying to get to peace and happiness, and you can't buy it. But you can find it inside where it's always been. Why? Because you seek what belongs for you in truth. And when you seek it, it only can be found where it was placed, and that is inside. Nowhere else. Then it goes on to say, sentence 2, his, God's, are the gifts that are ours in truth. It is our own truth. Everything God gave us, our peace, our happiness, our wholeness, our wellness, our infinite abundance, our eternal life, all inside, all inside. His are the gifts that we inherited before time was, and that will still be ours when time has passed into eternity. Only on this planet do we come and learn about time. A child lives in timelessness. A child lives in the now until they learn to read the clock. And once they learn to read the clock, they learn to operate by a calendar. And you know what birthdays are? It's an ingrained process to keep us in time. When you don't care about the clock, when you don't care about the calendar, when you stop counting birthdays, you begin to live in a timelessness that actually allows you to tap into your eternal sense of self, that existed before time on this planet got created. And soon we're going to go back to timelessness. Soon we're going to operate in the now, because soon we're going to do what feels good when it feels good, when we want to do it. The schools of the future are not going to have a bell that dings and says we're starting. The schools of the future are going to be a place where it's going to be open all the way. Day, night is going to be open, and you come and you participate and you take what you want when you want it, because you'll be inner guided. When we're inner guided, we don't need to control people with time, money, places, boundaries, borders. All of those things are going to go away. We don't know what living life with that much freedom looks like, because we've been living in bondage, and we need passports. We need to be controlled. When you go from here to there, it's got to be controlled. Somebody's got to know where you're going, and they're going to frisk you when you leave here. They're going to frisk you when you get over here. Craziness. All of that because we don't know. We don't really know freedom, because we've been distracted with looking for temporary happiness and fulfilling goals outside of ourselves. But we have to seek for what belongs to us in truth, and it's only in here. So we got to come inside, move out of time, forget that, there's only a finite amount of time. I mean, look at you, precious, sweet sister. You're a grandmother still going to school board meetings because you want to make a difference in the life of these children. And that is you stepping out of time. So many people that don't have kids in the school district or are invested in that are not participating. And yet you, who don't have kids in there, but you have grandchildren, and you're preparing the world you're going to incarnate into again. If that's your path, of course, we want to correct it. We want to correct everything that is completely blocking the gifts that God has given each and every one of us. Sentence 4 says, his are the gifts that are within us now, for they are timeless. This is why I said, if you don't wake up, if you don't find enlightenment in this lifetime, don't worry. You can do it in the next one. There's no rush. But why delay the goodness if you can get it now? But if you don't get it now, you're timeless. You'll get it in the next lifetime. So don't fret. That's why we get to be patient. And we need not wait to have them. They belong to us today. So there you go. Jesus is telling us, you don't have to worry about having them today because you're eternal, but why delay giving yourself the joy, the peace, the abundance, the goodness that is available to all of us? So today, to me, the most important thing is to become one who is committed to ensuring that we all understand not only that we're equal, but that life, liberty, and happiness are our God-given rights. And those who are in government elected by us, their job is to protect that for all of us. And if they're not protecting our God-given rights, then we need to make sure we say bye-bye. Because if they don't do that one simple job, then why are they there? Well, they're there doing what they want to be doing because we were too busy, trying to become something, blocking the truth that we were already all that. It's a beautiful, what a fun journey. Isn't this amazing? This is really such an entertaining journey once you begin to realize what's happening. It really is insane how we have used our power to create so much suffering that then we need to use our power to stop the suffering. We really are crazy people. Paragraph 3, therefore we choose to have them now, and know in choosing them in place of what we made, the ego made, we but unite our will with what God wills and recognize the same as being one. Our longer, well, this is talking about the practicing because it's a lesson. Our longer practice periods today, the hourly 5 minutes given truth for our salvation should begin with this. Here's what Jesus wants us to say hourly for 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes an hour, because we're using time, because we're out believing time exists. And we only need to keep repeating it because we learn through repetition. But once you believe it, the truth sets you free now. And here's what Jesus wants us to say. I seek, but what belongs to me in truth and joy and peace are my inheritance. The minute that you decide that that is the truth for you, you don't have to keep saying it. You then are being it. And all that this is saying right now is why wait to recognize that your will and God's will are really the same will. And that's just to be happy, to be free, to experience this seemingly temporary life, being who you are, no obstacles. So we got to get rid of all of those systems that build obstacles, but we can't get rid of the systems that build obstacles till we remove the obstacles inside of us to own our power, to own our sovereignty, and then say, hey, I'm not going to play your game anymore. I'm not going to vote for you anymore. I'm not going to tolerate you lying to me once I know the truth of who I am. You are not the boss of me. And once we tell our ego, you're not the boss of me. I'm not believing these lies that I've been telling myself. You are free. You're sovereign. You walk upon this planet, allowing the light that you are to just shine and illuminate the path for others. That is what we need to get to. Be so certain that we are worthy because we are the light of the world. We are as God created us and will with God. Once God's will and our will are the same. And all that that means is I accept that I am as God created me, period. I accept my wholeness. I accept my magnificence. I accept my ability to heal. I accept my ability to create, co-create, to be free on this planet. Once you accept that for yourself, you don't tolerate somebody else telling you otherwise. Why would you tolerate some unelected person telling you what you can and cannot have, that you're going to be happy by owning nothing? Well, you know what? We are happy whether we own or don't own, but we don't need somebody else telling us that. We don't need some unelected person telling us that we're going to like eating crickets if you don't like eating crickets. Now, if you like eating crickets, go for it. But if you don't like eating crickets, nobody can tell you you're going to like something you know you don't want. Well, we've got to stand up and unite our voice. Our fifth chakra has to get activated to speak the truth of who we are. But we can't speak the truth of who we are until we learn to love ourselves. And loving ourselves means cleaning up all these misperceptions, all these old traumas, all this old emotion energy that is stored inside our physical vessel, and come to know the truth of who we are. Ground ourselves in that first chakra. The children today are being confused. Children that are being born as these bright, beautiful stars, these shiny, bright lights, the systems are attempting to confuse them about who they are so that they cannot be grounded in their first chakra. Emotionally distorts them, fills their mind in the third chakra with things that are not true. They will shut their hearts down. And guess what? They become mindless and then do whatever they're told to do. As the parents, the grandparents, today, we need to take a stand. Seek but what belongs to you in truth. Own the essence of the God source that you are. Own it fully, completely, without exceptions. And when you own the truth of who you are without exceptions, you become the light of the world in a powerful way. And right now, we need warriors for God. Means one who stands as the light of the world, not to do battle with anybody, but rather to stand as one who did the battle internally, got rid of the ego that tells us lies, don't believe our own bullshit anymore. And we stand as a warrior for God to show others what it looks like when one operates in truth. Not afraid of anybody out there, because everything out there is a projection from within, but that's for a different class. Today, we are here to acknowledge the power that is inside of us. I seek but what belongs to me in truth, and joy and peace are my inheritance. I don't need to go look for anything outside of me. I used to think, oh my God, when my parents die, I'm going to inherit this, that, or the other. Crazy. I used to think that I was going to be better by what I was going to receive from the outside. All lies that we've been taught. The only inheritance that we should ever want is the one that we have already received. Let's unpack that. Paragraph, still 3, sentence 4. Then lay aside the conflicts of the world that offer other gifts and other goals made of illusions, witnessed to by them and sought for only in a world of dreams. Put all that stuff aside. All that nonsense outside of you, let it go. The only thing that matters is that you accept what already belongs to you in truth. And you're only going to find it where God placed it. And you know where God placed it? Where God is. And you know where God is? Inside. Period. Paragraph 4. All that external stuff we lay aside and seek instead that which is truly ours. As we recognize what God has given us, we clear a holy place within our minds before his altar, where his gifts of peace and joy are welcome, and to which we come to find what has been given by him. We come in confidence today, aware that what belongs to us in truth is what he gives. And we would wish for nothing else, for nothing else belongs to us in truth. The only thing you take with you is what you bring with you. We only take our light. We only take our consciousness. We only take the love that we are. All the peace that we are. That's why when people have near-death experiences, they go to the light. They remember their God. They remember they're happy. They don't want to come back here. They don't want to come back. No one who has a near-death experience wants to come back. This is crazy planet. But most of them do come back because they know they are here to help the brothers and sisters, the children, the grandchildren, and prepare a place for their own incarnation again in another life. Because once we discover the truth of who we are no longer interested in being deluded, in being confused, in being lied to. But you cannot stop the lies until you accept the truth. That's why they say the truth sets us free. So paragraph 5, the last one. So do we clear the way for him today by simply recognizing that his will, God's will is done already, and that joy and peace belong to us as his eternal gifts. Those are the gifts that keep on giving. We will not let ourselves lose sight of them between the times we come to seek for them where he has laid them. Yes, we keep coming back into ourselves, and we go out and we get distracted, and we come back, and we go out and we get pissed, and we come back, and we go out and judge and come back and forgive. Yes, this is what we do. We keep going out to the world, we come back in here. Eventually you come back in here, and then you're in the world and not of it. Until you're fully at peace in the world because you know you're not of it, keep coming back, forgive yourself, practice these lessons, connect to the truth of who you are, and little by little you become a master a master of what you already are, which means you're the master of your own mind and you don't listen to the ego lying to you. You won't tolerate your own lies. You don't tolerate your own BS. And one who doesn't tolerate their own BS is one who's truly free, because we have found the truth where God placed it. And who is with, when God is with you, you're aligned with God. What can be against you? It's impossible to have fear when you are one with the creative source of all that is. Sentence number 3. This reminder will we bring to mind as often as we can. This is all we need to say to ourselves. This is the shift and the lift. I seek but what belongs to me in truth. God's gifts of joy and peace are all I want. When all we want is that peace, that joy that comes from knowing truth, you have come into the altar where you are communing with God. That is what atonement is all about. You cleaned your mind, cleared it of misperceptions. In atonement, you're in that one-ment with God. What more could you want? There is nothing else. And when that becomes your priority and you operate from that place, you cannot be distracted by external shiny things. You will not be confused by sweet talk from, crazy people out there. But in order to experience the peace that passes all understanding, you must cut your attachments to external authorities. You must recognize that we're all equal. You must know that you don't need anything else to make you whole, perfect, and complete. You must let go of anything that is not necessary in your life. Yes, do you want to be comfortable? Absolutely. Do you need more than you need? No, you don't. That's the mind trying to convince you that you need to stay busy getting. This is a journey of giving. This is a journey of being so whole and complete within that you can walk on this planet as Jesus did. He only had a robe on and shoes and sandals. I didn't even know if he wore underwear. All he had was the truth that he knew was true always. And he was taken care of wherever he went, like the lilies of the valley. He was always fed. He was always provided for. He always had a place to sleep, even if it was under a tree, because he wasn't afraid. He knew that all he had to do was give. And if he gave, he received everything that he needed. We have been convinced that we need specific houses and they need to look this way and they need to be filled with that and they need to be McMansions and they need to have all this space and we need to acquire and have and this and that and collect this art and we need to have a ton in the bank and we need to have all this stuff. All of that is conditioning to distract us from the simplicity of the wholeness that is within us. And like a little child, yes, we need shelter. Yes, we need food. Yes, we need loving arms to hug us from time to time. Like a little child, all of our needs are met by a loving Father, Mother, God. We need to let ourselves know that that is the truth of who we are, let go of attachments, find our voice, and then speak it loudly and proudly. Yes, for those on the back of the bus to hear it. We've got to get really clear that right now, in the year 2022, those who are ready to open their eyes and see, ready to open their ears and hear the truth of who we are the ones who must take a stand as warriors for God, or whatever you want to call it, warriors for truth, and speak it, but speak it with love, because we are speaking to our brothers and sisters who are lost in a dream. And it is our job, because it is our purpose to happily, joyfully share the truth that has set us free. And with that, my brothers and sisters, I am so grateful that you came and allow the space where this is really, truly a transmission that just flows through me. And it's only possible because where two or more have gathered. The creative source of all that is can activate my heart Because as I give it, I receive this incredible frequency, this vibration that flows through me. And I know it wouldn't flow in this way if I didn't have someone to receive it. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. If this touches you, please share it. Actually, I believe that this particular transmission, I'm going to have to just make it public because it's a message for all of humanity, not just for the members of our Patreon community. So if you see it on my social media, share it with others. I mean, why would you want to keep this secret? Thank you so much. So with that, if you want to share anything to feel complete, by all means do so. And if you feel complete, we are good. Thank you.
Thank you, Laina. Namaste.
Yes, Laina, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
It's not me, it's us. Thank you all so much and have a beautiful, magnificent day.
Thanks. You do the same.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.